what is the advantage of being an empowering plant manager? I'm Greg Schinkel, President of Unique Training and Development and Frontline Leadership Systems, and today we've got to address the issue of a plant manager who is either more empowering or tends to be more micromanaging. Now, some plant managers and some directors of operations and VP of operations believe that a good plant manager needs to have their finger on everything that's going on in that facility. And that leaves many plant managers to actually micromanage. But the problem with micromanagement is it really detracts away from what the supervisors are responsible for, and even the production employees start to feel demotivated from that. So where people worked in teams where their managers actually gave them more feedback and more empowerment, they were 35% more likely to stay with the company. 35% more likely to stay, that's significant. So we had one gentleman who had just been promoted to plant manager, and you got to keep in mind that many people are promoted into that role of plant manager either from previously being a production supervisor or a production manager, or that they were in a technical role like an engineering role, and then they're given this opportunity to be a plant manager. And so many of the things that they used to focus on in their previous role involved really being on top of details and projects and things. And so they come into the new role of plant manager and they continue to have their fingers in too many pies in terms of production. They actually are micromanaging, and they haven't empowered other people to be more successful. So I've got a few tips for how a plant manager can become more empowering so that they get more out of people and people make good decisions and are more accountable for what they contribute to the organization. So tip number one is to clarify expectations. You'll hear that a number of times if you watch enough of these leader feeders. Is the first step is to make sure people understand clearly what you expect, what needs to get done, to what level, and when does it need to get done. So that way they have a fighting chance of actually achieving what your expectations are. So clarify those expectations as a plant manager. It's really important that people know what you need to have happen and when it needs to happen and to what quality level it needs to happen. Number two is to challenge for growth. Now, remember this adage, it's who, not how. A lot of plant managers are stuck with the how am I going to boost my numbers or achieve the results that we need or hit our ambitious targets for the year. And the reality is your team is there to help you achieve those things. So you've got to think about who can help me, not how am I going to make this happen. And then realize that many people don't necessarily come to you and say, hey, I'm ready for more responsibility. So you as the plant manager have to challenge people to grow them, give them assignments that will stretch them, and then of course be supportive. So the third tip is to support and strengthen people. Now, if your team isn't quite up to the challenges that you have for them as a plant manager, then you need to strengthen them and support them as you go along. This is where your coaching tips will come in. And strengthening is different than saying, oh, you're not cutting it, and so now I need to come down and do your job too. That will only mire you into micromanagement again as a plant manager. So as an empowering plant manager, what's important is that you give people a sense of what you want. You give them that challenge so that they can grow into those roles and think about who, not how. And then finally, you strengthen them and develop them so that they can meet your results consistently, your expectations for results consistently. Now, once you've figured that out, you're going to realize that your success as a plant manager depends on having the supervisors and the production managers who report to you also be extremely effective in their leadership roles. Many people have been promoted from within only to struggle as they take on those leadership responsibilities. And that's where our frontline leadership program comes in. Whether you have us come on site to work with your team, or maybe because of scheduling, it just makes more sense to deliver it through our state-of-the-art virtual training studio. Or now we've got a third option for those really difficult to schedule training programs. It's to use our frontline leadership on demand, where people can log in, go at their own pace, and then still be expected to apply those learnings back on the job. And you can track it all with our Leader Behavior Builder system. Of course, all of that starts with a conversation, and that can happen at our website at uniquedevelopment.com. Or why not connect with us on one of the many social media platforms that we're involved in. No matter what it takes, we'd like to, through conversation and discussion with you, come up with a solution over a period of time that builds a really strong leadership presence so that you can be an employer of choice and you can hit your results consistently.